Hi and welcome to Craggle. We develop tools for the visual effects industry. This is a documentation video on SmartElements, the media browser that lets you easily browse any footage and assets, 3D elements and toolsets, so you can quickly and efficiently access commonly used elements. SmartElements lets you easily build up an elements library within your team. It contains a lot of features that we'll be exploring in just a minute. But first, let's install SmartElements, and then let's explore all of its features. Like any other Craggle product, SmartElements can be installed with Craggle Connect directly inside Nuke. For more information about Connect, please visit the link below. So, open Connect and drag SmartElements to the right to reveal more information. Just click on Buy and you'll be located to the webpage where you can purchase SmartElements. After purchasing, you'll receive a mail including an install code. Now simply click on Install, enter your received install code or use your Craggle account credentials, and SmartElements will be installed automatically on your machine. After the installation is finished, SmartElements can be accessed via Nuke's menu bar. Just click on Craggle, and in here you'll now find a new submenu SmartElements. Let's now have a look how SmartElements works. The core of SmartElements is the Elements browser. This is where you ingest all your media and where you can access it to get data into your node graph. In order to launch the SmartElements browser, navigate to your menu bar and choose Craggle, SmartElements, Open SmartElements. The shortcut is holding Ctrl or Command and pressing the dot key on your keyboard. Here I already have some elements in my library. We'll have a look how to get media into SmartElements in just a minute. Hovering over a media gives us a preview of that media. In order to insert any media into my node graph, simply select one or multiple elements and drag them into your working file. Or choose Insert from the context menu. But SmartElements contains a lot more. Let's see what else we got here. Now, the media browser contains 3 sections that you can toggle with these 3 buttons here at the bottom right. At the moment, we're in the main section. This section lets you access all your media. Clicking this button, you get access to the history section. When ingesting media, each ingestion gets logged, so you can get further information about the media ingestions here. Clicking the next button gives you access to SmartElement Settings pane, which we'll explore later. A quicker way of switching between the 3 sections is by holding your Ctrl or Command key and pressing 1, 2 and 3 to toggle between the main, history and settings sections. Let's switch back to the main area and have a closer look at all its sections and widgets. The browser's main area contains several sections. The stacks and lists on the left to switch between different stacks and lists. We'll have a look on this in just a minute. The library in the middle that contains all the media, multiple widgets that are concerned with the viewing of media at the top center, information about the currently loaded list at the top right, a status field when ingesting media at the bottom left. Now at the moment it's empty, but we'll have a look at it in a minute. And finally the 3 viewing section buttons at the bottom right that we already had a look at. Before ingesting media and using it in our working file, let's have a quick look at the stacks and lists sections on the left, as it's an important concept to understand. Media gets organized in so-called stacks and lists. Here at the top you can switch between stacks. Think of a stack as a main folder to categorize your media. For instance, you could have a stack for each show you're working on, or for each user. Or one for 3D elements and another one for stock footage and one for graphics, etc. Click this button to browse to a new stack. The browsed path will then be stored in the stack's drop-down menu, even if you close SmartElements, Nuke, or shut down your machine. So in a nutshell, here you can store root directories of different locations, be it on your local hard drive, in a cloud, or on a server, or anywhere else. Once you've selected a stack, here you see all lists within the stack. These are nothing more than subfolders within a stack folder. These lists let you further categorize your media. For instance, here we'll have a list for fire elements, smoke, particles, toolsets, 3D assets, etc. To load media from a list, simply double-click it, or select it and press Enter, or select it and choose Load from the context menu. The list's media gets loaded into the library in the middle. By default, SmartElements will have the default stack and default list selected, but feel free to create as many stacks and lists as you like. Let's create a new stack on our cloud. For that, click the plus button here at the top and browse to the folder where you would like to store all your lists in. Now keep in mind that other machines that have access to this folder can point to this stack as well, so you can create a common pool of elements that are used within your team. Or if you work just on your own but on several machines, you can create a repository of elements that all your machines have access to, and that synchronize automatically for you. In order to create a new list, right-click the List section and choose New List. Enter a name. Let's get media into SmartElements. In order to ingest media, you can simply drop a folder that contains nested sequences or videos, or .nk files, so Nuke files, or 3D data, that is .abc, .obj, and .fpx, into the library section in the middle. SmartElements will scan the dropped folder for media and assets automatically and ingest these. The status here at the bottom informs you about the current progress. Now, besides dropping a whole folder into the browser, you can also drop one or multiple files directly into SmartElements. When dropping an image that belongs to a sequence, then SmartElements will automatically detect the image sequence's whole frame range. When ingesting media, this will perform three things: copy data, create a preview, and extract metadata. So first, SmartElements will copy the media into your currently selected list. By default, SmartElements does a hard copy. If you have some Autodesk Flame experience, you'll be familiar with this concept. A hard copy means it will perform a physical copy. The data will be copied into the currently selected list. However, you can adjust that behavior and perform a soft copy so that when ingesting media into SmartElements, this will not copy the media to the currently selected list. When bringing in media from SmartElements into your node graph, this will then reference the original media that you just dropped into the media browser. Later, we will have a look at how to switch from a hard copy to a soft copy behavior. Secondly, SmartElements will create a thumbnail preview if it is footage media, meaning if it is an image sequence or a video. For all other types, you can create previews manually yourself if needed. And finally, SmartElements will extract some information and metadata about your media, which gets available for you in the browser. Later, we'll have a brief look at how you can create your own custom pre- and post processors that run additionally when ingesting media into SmartElements. Each media ingestion gets logged. Click the History button at the bottom right, or hold Ctrl or Command and press 2 to access the History section. Here we see all logs for each media ingestions. Right-click a log and choose Reveal Log to reveal the logged information of that media ingestion. It contains detailed information about what went on under the hood when ingesting media. Let's switch back to the main section. Here at the top we have various widgets that are concerned with displaying the media. Here we have a slider to increase and decrease the size of our media thumbnails. Here we can switch between list view and thumbnail view. The thumbnail view shows only the thumbnails and nothing further, so we won't be distracted by anything else. Plus we can see more media at once. On the other hand, we have the list view. This view shows you a lot more details for each media. Here we see the media's name, format, number of frames, type, and size. We can favorite media and add a comment. Here you can reload the library in the middle and scan for new elements. Here you can toggle showing only favorite media or all media. And here you can search media by different criteria and perform a loose or strict search. Here we see the name of the list that we loaded from the Stacks and Lists section. We see the list name and its size on disk. Now the most important section is the library in the middle. This is where all your media of your currently selected list lives. By hovering over a media, we see a playback in a loop. Now it's worth mentioning here that I'm currently using Nuke 12. While SmartElements itself works in previous versions down to Nuke 8, we recommend using Nuke 12 or higher when it comes to these video previews. Nuke 11 does not contain the needed libraries for a video player, so we had to replace the video thumbnail with a static image. However, in Nuke 10.5 down to Nuke 8 there is a video player available, but you will need to manually start and stop the videos. In Nuke 12 and above, hovering over a media will play its preview and stop as soon as you leave the media. Just something to keep in mind. So in a nutshell, we recommend using SmartElements with Nuke 12 or above, but it will work in previous versions down to Nuke 8. Right-clicking one or several selected media gives you some more options to choose from. You can insert the media into your node graph, reveal the media in your Finder or Explorer, as well as set and unset a custom preview. Here you can clear out the library. Now this does not delete anything from the currently selected list. It will simply hide any media in the library. Double-clicking the list at the left will show the media again. And here you can delete the media if it is no longer needed. Now keep in mind that any read node and any working file that is already referencing the media will go offline. As previously seen, getting media into our node graph is as simple as selecting one or multiple media from the library and dragging them into our node graph. Or right-click and choose Insert from the context menu. Depending on the media's type, this will create one or multiple read nodes, or read geonodes, or paste the toolset or toolsets into your node graph. You can get additional information about an element by hovering over a media and simply holding the Alt key. This gives you a larger preview, as well as further information and metadata. You can insert and reveal the media directly in here as well. Besides dropping data into the SmartElements browser from your Explorer, you can also register any media to SmartElements that is already inside your node graph. As an example, here I have two read nodes. I would like to register the node's media to SmartElements. For that, select the two read nodes, navigate to Nuke's menu bar and choose Craggle, SmartElements, Register Nodes Media. In the upcoming window, choose the list to register the media to and click the Register button. The media will be added to SmartElements and will be available for future usage for you and your team. SmartElements lets you store toolsets. We've already seen that we can drop a .nk, so a Nuke file, into the browser. We can also create toolsets from a node selection directly inside Nuke. To do so, select some nodes, navigate to Nuke's menu bar and choose Craggle, SmartElements, register selected nodes as toolset. In the upcoming window, choose a name and enter the list to store the toolset in. You can add an additional comment if needed and upload a preview. But you can also do that afterwards at any time. Click the Register button. The toolset will be added to SmartElements and is available for you and your team immediately. By default, we enable to automatically register renderings to SmartElements. This behavior can be enabled and disabled in SmartElement Settings, which we'll see in a minute. When creating a write node, the node contains an additional tab SmartElements. In here you can select a list to automatically register the rendering to once the write node finishes rendering. Click the Reload button to get an update showing all lists from all your stacks. Now keep in mind that you can also register write node's rendering whenever you like, as previously seen by selecting the write node and choosing Craggle, SmartElements, Register Nodes Media. Let's have a look at SmartElement Settings. For that, launch SmartElements from the menu bar as seen previously, or by simply holding Ctrl or Command and hitting the dot key on your keyboard. Switch to the Settings section by clicking this button or holding Ctrl or Command and clicking 3 on your keyboard. The settings are split into 2 tabs, General and Advanced. Let's have a look at the General tab first. By having this checkbox enabled, we get tooltips for all major widgets contained in SmartElements. Here we can decide to keep the SmartElements browser always on top of all other windows or not. Having this checkbox enabled will perform a check to see if media that you dropped into the browser already exists in any other list of your currently selected stack. If it does so, it will ask you if you want to ingest it in your currently selected list as well. So this avoids ingesting duplicate media into several lists. Depending on your needs, you might or might not need this check. So here you can enable or disable it. Here you can determine the number of parallel threads when it comes to ingesting your media. So this will at the moment ingest 4 media in parallel in the background. Now this number should be fine in most instances, but if needed you can increase or decrease it in here. Here you can ignore any stack, list or media from loading when it starts with this character. This is useful for temporarily unloading or hiding certain stacks, lists or media if needed. Here you can set the logging level. By default it is set to info. Change it to debug to get more information, for example when ingesting media into SmartElements. As previously seen, write nodes will automatically register any renderings to SmartElements once they finish rendering. Here you can enable and disable this feature. By disabling it, there will be no more SmartElements tab available and the registering of renderings to SmartElements gets disabled. Here you can set the default list to register renderings to. The value will be set automatically when creating a new write node. You can adjust this value afterwards in the write node if needed. And here you can update to get all lists of all stacks. Click the Advanced tab. Now, as previously mentioned, when it comes to ingesting media into SmartElements, there are several things going on in the background. Copying the data, creating a preview, and extracting the metadata. This gets done by processors that run in parallel threads in the background. These processors are driven by settings that you can adjust here if needed. All processors derive from an abstract base processor class. You can create custom processors that run before and or after the mentioned copy, preview, metadata processors. As an example, you could create custom pre- and post processors that will register the dropped media into a database, add some more metadata to ingested media, or do anything else that you can think of. Previously, we talked about the concepts of hard and soft copies when ingesting media into SmartElements. All processors are driven by settings. Here you can drive the behavior if needed. If we recap, hard copying means creating a physical copy of the ingested media and referencing this copied media when using it. While a soft copy will not create a physical copy and instead reference the original media. Both behaviors are useful and you can decide yourself if you want to switch to the one or the other. By default, performing a copy is enabled, which means SmartElements will create a hard copy and copy over the data to the currently selected list when ingesting media. Changing to a soft copy is simple. To do so, find the copier settings and simply set the enable flag to false. This will then not copy the media to SmartElements anymore. It will instead directly reference the original data when bringing media into your node graph. This data structure in here is a Python dictionary. It is crucial to keep it in a valid state. Saving an invalid state is not possible. In case you make any mistake, you'll be notified. And if you get lost, you can right-click the text field and reset its processor settings to their default value. For more information about processors and an in-depth example how to create your own custom processors and work with advanced settings, please have a look at the SmartElements written documentation. So this was a documentation video on SmartElements, the media browser that lets you easily browse any footage and assets, 3D elements and toolsets so you can easily and efficiently access commonly used elements and build up an elements library within your team.